Hey guys, just another Supra update video. I didn't touch on quite a few things last time. I thought I'll give you a little update on what is happening with it. So both those diff bushes are in now. As you can see, they're both blue, both new. Yeah, it's made quite a big difference. You can put this bush in without taking out your diff cradle. But what we ended up doing with a good mate of mine that has a Supra, his father-son build, really cool. I'll put it in the description below, the Instagram to follow their build if you're interested in that. It's 830 horsepower, 833. But what we ended up doing was bashing in with some cold chisels and some crowbars. We took out the bolts in the middle, and then cut out the rubber surround with just a normal serrated kitchen knife. And then we spent some time, maybe about half an hour, beating in the metal surround around it, and it'll eventually cave in. And then he was hitting it from one side, I had the crowbar on the other side, and it just popped out, and we popped that new one in, and it pulled it in with the bolts, and it's fine now. So my diff has no play, and it's really awesome. Put the new battery clamp on. You can see this is all from Super Cheap, this stuff. I did have to modify it a little bit. This is a adjustable clamp with the side piece. This side wasn't a problem. I did have to beat the base of the other side to get it to fit under the battery properly. I also got these two new battery terminal covers that I had to modify. These were the only ones that Super Cheap had. I had to cut the base and put some cable ties over it. They look a bit dicky, but it's legal. Yeah, I had a question about the oil that I use. I have tried quite a few different oils in this and in my old Supra. My old Supra was a 7M GTE Turbo A edition, making 480 horsepower with a T78 33D. I've always been a bit partial in Australia to Penrite oils. I've never had an issue with it. I used to use HPR5 in my old Supra. I've tried HPR5 in this. I didn't have a problem with it. I found it got dirtier quicker than some other oils like the Newlon 5W30 or 10W30, I believe it was. However, the best oil I've used, which is what I'm now going to use permanently in this, is the Penrite 10 tenths. I think it's the best value for money. I change my oil every 5,000 kilometers. It's a little bit more expensive, but you do get, it does seem to work quite well. I did actually notice a slight difference with it, with the lag, because it's quite a bit thinner. So I don't know how much that would be an issue with ball bearing turbos, but with my roller bearing, the Penrite 10 tenths is the way to go. Yeah, I took it for a drive yesterday. Yesterday was a public holiday in Australia, just to test my cooling system and really give it a proper hard time. So I drove up a mountain local to me, which is a really, really good drive. I did get it on a knockoff GoPro that I have. I can't afford a top of the line GoPro, but it's really rubbish quality. I'll put a couple of clips in it at the end. The microphone's really garbage, so you can't hear much. But yeah, I took it for a drive just to see how the cooling system would deal with it. It was a pretty hot day. It was about 30, when I went up there, it was about 30, 32 degrees Celsius. And I found, yeah, giving it a hard time. I was going sort of slow. I got caught up behind some traffic, but I'd pull back and then get into it again. It did get up to 119 degrees Celsius, maybe 120. The factory temperature gauge still was sitting in the middle, which is fine. However, my odometer was almost at the 120, or pretty much at the 120 line there. But I kept driving it. I was thought, well, until the factory one goes up above that. I mean, I'm past the boiling point of the coolant there, which is about 114 or 116 degrees. And it just seemed to be all right. I didn't boil off too much coolant into the radiator overflow. It sucked it all back in. So, yeah, it was pretty right. It's temperature-wise pretty good for a track day, I would say, because I don't think on the track I would be giving it as much of a hard time, and I'd be getting a lot more airflow through the front of the car compared to the mountain. Yeah, so that was a good drive. It was fine. I drove it back. I pulled up down the other side of the mountain and it cooled down, and drove back and gave it another hard time. Had no issues with heat and cooling. I mean, it got a bit warm, but it wasn't anything you'd be worried about with a 2JZ. I got asked a question about the boost that I'm running. So because this is the factory ECU, RZ ECU, and I don't have a fuel cut defender, I'm limited to 14 PSI boost, absolute max. So the way I've got it set up now with my HKS boost controller, my electronic boost controller, I don't know if you can see that in there. But there is a boost controller there. I've got it on 13.4, I believe now, and I've turned the gain up a bit, so it comes on boost pretty early. I'm getting on full boost by 3 to 4 grand, I believe. The gate's starting to open pretty early, but I think it's because I've only got the 1 7-pound spring in it, and the exhaust is. The exhaust gas is pushing it open, but I'd rather have it like that instead of putting the other spring back in, so I'm not fighting with it with the boost controller, because it's all electronically controlled. It took me a little while to set this up with the HKS EVC. I think it's a Series 5 or 6. So it's a dual port wastegate with a screamer, and yeah, it seems to be quite good to drive. It's very linear coming onto the boost. It's not laggy at all. I mean, I did get it dynoed on quite a couple of years ago when it was all standard with just a T-piece on it, and the boost came on. It was like it wasn't even a turbo car. And that's mainly because of this turbo that I'm using. Precision turbos are just fantastic, especially if you've got a Gen 2 one with all the billet internals. So, yeah. I got asked another question about my W58. Yes, so I did have, when I bought the car, it came with the factory twin-turboed 2JZ GTE running factory boost and everything, which I believe is about 12 pounds. I did have to replace the clutch when I bought it. It was an Exceedy clutch. It was just cooked. I put a DCS single plate clutch in it, and put it back together and changed the oil to Penrite 75W90 or 85, whatever the recommended gearbox oil is for a W58. And yeah, I drove it around. I did give it a sort of hard time, but I didn't do any clutch dumps unless it was in the wet, because I was worried about the gearbox. It did last quite a long time. I put about 30,000 kilometres on that gearbox. Even after I single turboed it, I still, when it was single turboed and I was running about 13 or 14 PSI, I put probably another 6 to 8,000 Ks on it. I'm not quite sure. but it did last. I didn't abuse it. I just rolled onto the power. I did maybe 2 or 3 burnouts, nothing crazy. And then one day I was rolling on from second to third, and third just let go. So, I mean, it'll probably be all right if you single turboed your Supra with the W58. Don't put a twin plate on it. Always keep it a single. Have a sprung center disc because the way the W58s just don't do well with shock loading. You'd be better off, just really doing a gearbox conversion. But if you can't afford it at that point in time, then just sort of keep the W58, but you've got to be really gentle on it. The headlights. I got a question about the headlights. So yes, these are all custom made. As far as I know, there's no other Supra in the world with this same setup that I've got. I've seen similar ones, but not quite exactly what I've got. So these are Sixter lenses. There's a guy on Super Forums, US, and also I think on the worldwide Supra page, Daniel Sixter. I believe he's also got a website, so you could just Google that name and you'll come up with it. So these lenses, the completely clear lenses with the black paint around the edge that covers up the seal, he sells them. They cost about $450 for the both. The problem is now, if you've got an old set of headlights, the chrome rings that go around each headlight or each light source, they're very hard to come by. I was lucky enough to get involved with a group buy. There was a guy in the United Kingdom on Facebook that was making a batch of these. He, I believe, no longer makes them, so they're very hard to get. The chrome rings, they do stick over the factory ones. I took the headlights to a headlight shop because these are a sealed unit to replace the lens. They have to be all cut and dremeled out to put the new lenses on. I got them to paint, it was Dan's Custom Headlights at Carina in Brisbane, paint the chrome surround, because these are Series 1 headlights. Got him to paint them black, and I also got him to fit the, these are Diode Dynamics halos. They were $300 and something Australian. There's a switchback version, so what that means is, I'll just show you now. When the headlights are on, they're at one sort of brightness. There is a daytime running brightness, which I'll show you now. Where I've got a separate switch for. So I'll flick the switch down here. And then you've got the daytime brightness ones, but they also go with the indicators, so they flash orange when you indicate, and when you turn off your indicator, they just go back to being white. So yeah, and then I also replaced all the bulbs with LED bulbs. As you can see, there's the high beam one, and they're absolutely ridiculous. I just got eBay, I think they're Nightwave LED bulbs. They were quite cheap. However, the whole headlight conversion did cost just over $2,000 Australian, so it's a little bit expensive. But it really modernises the car. I get a lot of compliments about it at car shows. People really like them. They're very unique. But I mean, to build this same sort of thing without the chrome rings, if your chrome rings are in good condition, you might be better off you can get carbon fibre inserts that replace all the black. and I don't think the chrome rings fit to them. I believe PSI Pro Spec Imports sell them in Brisbane, and they ship worldwide. Yeah, so I do have a new issue. I don't know. I need a question. I have a question for you guys answered. I'd get a lot of axle tramp if I try to do a burnout from first to second. You know, sliding around is no issue, or doing donuts, but if I'm just in a straight line and I dump it, the whole wheel really hops, so it's quite aggressive. I'm not quite sure how to fix this. I don't have coilovers yet. If any of you guys know a really good way to stop axle tramp, I had the same issue with my old Supra, but I don't want to change my wheels. I'm hoping some coilovers might fix it, but I'm not quite sure. I had read that the front diff bushes can make a difference, but yeah, if anyone has any input on that, please comment, let me know, and I'll try and mitigate that. What else was there? I'll link the Instagram to a couple other Supra guys I have that have helped me out in the description below. I would love to make some better driving videos with this. I record all this with my phone, but I would love to have like a GoPro mount or something in here or up here, wherever, that I can show you guys driving, get some good sound quality out of it, and really, you know, show you what it's about when it's running well. But yeah, you know, if, I might even set up a Patreon or something. Just let me know in the comments if you guys you have any questions, or need to know anything about your Supras. You want a step-by-step guide on doing anything. I mean, I've been involved with Supras before I had my license, and so we're talking over 15 years of working on these things. So I pretty much know them inside out. If anyone has any questions, yeah, just don't hesitate to ask, or wants me to do certain things to this, let me know, and or has any advice, yeah, let me know, and I'll try and make it happen. My biggest issue is just the cost of things that makes this a slow build, but you know, I'm welcome to donations. But anyway, so if anyone has any issues, wants to know anything else about Supras, conversions and such. Oh, I had another question about the wiring. I'm not sure about the wiring, dude, because when I bought this car, the wiring was already done by a shop. It's all quite professional. I believe they just used the engine harness, ran it through, and then they sort of split up the engine and body harness down to where the ECU is and did their own sort of thing with it. It's all quite professionally done, but I will be replacing that. If you're thinking about doing a conversion anyway from a GE to a GTE, I would just say just get an aftermarket computer with a new loom. It's a lot cheaper. It'll run a lot better. You'll make more power, and you won't have to pay extra to make everything work, which is what I believe the original owner, the second owner of this car, once it was imported to Australia, did. So he probably paid quite a lot for that, and I mean, for that same price, he could have got an aftermarket computer to run the show. So yeah, just don't bother with the stock gear. It's just a pain in the ass. And I had an idea, guys. I'm thinking about putting in a BR rev limiter, just so I can be one of those sweet anti-lagging Supras that you always see videos of on the internet. But that could be a bit away. Maybe in about a month's time I might do that, and I'll put some videos up, because you've got to order them from Nengun for a genuine one, to work with the factory computer anyway, because That's all I really need at the moment. I don't need much more power, but until I get the brakes done. So yeah, just I'll let you know how it goes. Otherwise, the car's running good. I'll be going out to meets. It's good on fuel. It's still on 98, by the way. I don't use E85. I don't plan to. I'm a 98 fanboy, which I believe for the American guys is the equivalent of 93. We use the RON system here, so that's basically our premium. It's a non-issue, so, and I do a bit of long distance driving in this. Yeah, so any questions, let me know, guys. Otherwise, I might not put a video up for a while until I get some new parts, and maybe do a bit of a cinematic video. We'll see how we go with the other Supra guys in my area. We might do something a bit flash. Just need to try and organise some camera gear, or one of our photographer mates to sort of get it all together. I'd love to do it myself, but I don't have $4,000 to drop on a sweet camera setup with a gimbal. So anyway, awesome. I'm glad it's back on the road. And I decided that I'm not going red footwell neons. I have blue ones coming. I'm going to put them in, and they'll be sweet. You know it. All right, guys, have a good one. See ya.